boys, today we got us a fishing hacks video. And I get it. There's hundreds, even thousands of fishing hacks videos on YouTube that all contain the exact same garbage that are pretty much just copies of every single one. This video is going to be different. As someone that fished over 250 days last year, whether it be commercial fishing, fishing with friends, or running charters, these are some hacks that I actually used. So this video isn't going to contain all the other stupid garbage tips that each other video has. I'm not going to be asking you to go around your house, find some random item, and modify or destroy it for some stupid hack that doesn't even work or it's not even worth using. No, this video actually contains stuff that is helpful and usable. You know why? Because I've used all these tips myself this past year. So without further ado, let's get started. Number 1, get you some ring zip ties. Not every rod you have comes with a nice hook storage ring. Quit damaging your guides by putting hooks on them. Quit putting holes in your foam grip and take some ring zip ties and put it right above the grip. It's super easy, it's super cheap, and zip ties are just really good to have around the boat. And if you put these on a leaning post or a T-top, they're really good for cinching down knots as well. Number 2, lead storage. I don't know why, but personally, I always have a problem with lead storage. 5-gallon buckets take up way too much space on deck. Putting them in a tackle box or a tackle bag makes it so heavy that it's annoying to carry around. For this, I have 2 suggestions. 1, keep those empty bleach jugs, do a couple modifying cuts, and boom, you got a lead holder with a nice handle that you can poke holes in the bottom so the water doesn't sit in there. Option 2 is putting them in a tool bag. Most of the time, they're made out of a tough cloth or mesh. The handles are already designed to carry a lot of weight, and if it gets wet, it just dries out on its own eventually. Those are both really good options for lead storage. Number 3, do you have a bunch of disgusting rust stains on your boat, or has been sitting in the water or out in the elements so long that once white, beautiful hole has turned into a disgusting brown or yellow color? The easiest way to get rid of that is a chemical called Ono. The stuff isn't cheap, but as you can see in this video, that it is quite literally instant whiteness on those rust stains. This is the best option to get your now hideous boat back to its pearly white state. Number 4, I hate hand stripping line off of reels. Nobody's got the time in 2022 to be stripping hundreds or even thousands of yards off of reels. All you got to do is take you a Phillips head screwdriver or buy you some dowel rods at the hardware store, put them in a drill, tighten them down, take a water bottle, put them over the end, lightly tape it, tie the tag into it, and just let her rip. After you're done, just untape it, slide that bottle off, throw it away. Boom. Easy reusable line stripper. Number 5. Do you have tiny cleats on your boat? For the record, I'm not judging you. I'm not judging you. And you find it difficult or even impossible to put a fender and a dock line on it? Get you about a foot of PVC, drill a hole in it, take some rope, and now you got some fancy rod holder fenders. Now putting the proper amount of wraps and hitches on your cleat is no problem. Number 6, some of the boats I work on just don't have enough rod storage space. You can free up one of those spaces with a T-top gaff mount. You can buy them online. They're super easy to install, and it just frees up storage and gets them out of the way. Lucky number 7. Personally, I've missed countless amounts of good filming opportunities just because I couldn't find my phone fast enough to record it. On the boats that I run, they have something called a ram mount. These things are suction cup phone holders that stick so well, I honestly thought they were bolted in the first 5 or 6 months I worked. Also for you fellas that fish alone, it is perfect for taking those time pictures of you and your fish and avoiding those shameful selfies. Nobody wants to see you taking a selfie. No, it's 2022. Let's grow up. And also, if you need your phone as a GPS, it'll be right there in good view. Segueing off of that, download a good GPS app. There's a couple of free options. I think Garmin has a free one. Navionics, you do have to pay monthly, I believe, for that. But just from a safety standpoint and a little bit of security, it's good to have some sort of backup if your GPS unit goes out. I have had this happen before, and the phone has saved me. Segueing into more phone apps. Download Fish Rules. Look, nobody wants to catch a charge from the man. I'm not sure about the Gulf, but I know in the Atlantic they have a bunch of really random and stupid rule changes that are either emergency closures or emergency opens or change of minimum size for a species. Nobody needs to be catching any stray charges from the man, and nobody wants to throw a fish back that they later found out was actually legal to keep. What's great about this app is it can work offshore when you don't have cell service. All the information is downloaded on your phone, freshwater and saltwater, and it makes it easy for you and can pinpoint your location so you know the regulations are for your area. And added bonus, the first thing you see on the app when you open it up is yours truly. How about that? Look at the size of that jack. Sheesh. This is a really good way to save you from a fine or a court date. And this is actually what NOAA and FWC recommends you use for your regulation updates. Number 10, another good tip to keep you out of trouble. I've been on boats several times that for whatever reason just don't have a tape measure. And guess what? The law don't care if you don't have a tape measure. He's still gonna write you a ticket if your eyeball test failed. Go on Amazon, buy you the cheapest plastic tape measure that you can possibly find, and put it in your tackle bag. You are gonna use it, I guarantee it. It'll save you a lot of stress and potentially save you a load of money. this one. Okay, this one. This is one of the stupid, useless tips that every single fishing hacks video thinks they need to include. You take or you buy a koozie, you cut the end off, put a hole in it, and that's how you keep a spool from unraveling. The only problem is anything wider than a beer can, you're just out of luck. I lose the little covers on leader spools all the time, and the leader ends up getting unraveled in my bag and getting a bunch of knots in it and just making it useless. Go on Amazon and get these spool bands. They fit any size spool and they have a hole already so you can feed the line through it. They're really cheap and it is a much better option than destroying your favorite koozie. Okay, now we're gonna be segueing into some like on boat and pre-fishing tips and tricks. The night before a trip, I take those frozen freezer packs and put them in whatever coolers I'm gonna ice down. This makes the cooler cooler, see what I did there, before you put ice in it so you don't have that much ice burn once it's in there. It'll keep everything colder for longer and maximize the amount of ice that you have on the trip. If you're ever dealing with super slimy fish like a kingfish, a tarpon, a catfish, or a wahoo, it is almost impossible to get the slime off your hands without a ton of effort. This is because you're probably trying to wash it off in water or with a wet rag. Guess what? Fish slime is designed to stay on a fish in the water. The easiest way to get the slime off is with a dry rag, not a wet one. Number 14, fellas. You ever have one of your boys crack open a fresh ice cold beer, take one sip out of it, put it in a rod holder, catch a fish, and forget about it for 20 minutes so you have a blazing hot beer with one sip out of it that is completely wasted? As an expert in the subject, I suggest you get beers with screw-on caps. All you gotta do is take a sip out of it, reseal it, put it back in the cooler, or if your friends are still morons and leave it out, put the cap back on, put it back in the cooler, 20 minutes later, she's ice cold again. This is actually an extremely good way to save a lot of money. Number 15. This is for you sporty guys that use fluorocarbon leader all the time. Keep alcohol wipes on your boat. You can pretty much get these at any store nowadays, shout out COVID-19, and use them to wipe down your leaders periodically. It gets all the dirt and grime off those leaders, and it keeps that fluorocarbon invisible for longer. We've all had it happen. You land a fish, put it on the deck, and then it promptly freaks the F out, banging into every rod, every tackle box, and every person on the boat. 95% of the time, the way you can stop this is put your hand over its eyes, or if it's like a toothy critter or something that you don't want to get towards the business end, just throw a rag over its eyes. It'll probably chill the F out as soon as you do it. And if that doesn't work, fish bats are a good option. However, don't be a moron. Be safe when you're swinging it. Get a bat with a leash for your wrist. Use two hands every single time. There's two ways to do this, only two. One is the two-hand classic golf swing, and the other is the sledgehammer technique. Both use both hands. Never, ever, ever swing the bat with one hand. Most of the time while fishing, your hands are pretty wet and slimy, so having the bat fly out of your hands is a pretty common occurrence. The one-handed swing just isn't accurate, and it's a really good way to put a sick dent in your gel coat. Be safe when you're swinging the bat. You can hurt yourself or your boat really easily. Number 17. This is a tip for all the live bait trollers out there. There's a couple boats that I fish on that just don't go slow enough to properly troll live bait. If your baits are constantly drowning and dying, or they're just spinning up and you spend half your day changing out live baits, what you need to do is take 1 or 2 5-gallon buckets, loop a dock line on it, tie it off to a cleat, and throw it in the water. I wouldn't recommend drilling holes in the bucket. It's kind of a waste of a bucket, and it should slow you down just enough so those live baits stay live baits. Number 18. 18? This is for all you guys that keep baits in pens overnight, or in live wells, or in buckets. If you have an issue with your baits looking ratty and beat up after one night in storage, well, that's because they can't see. It's hard to see in the dark. If they're swimming in the dark, then they're bumping into each other and the sides of the well the entire night. You need to make sure your pens are in a well-lit area. This will keep them swimming organized, keep them off each other, and keep them from bumping into the walls. It'll make your baits look better, swim better, and catch more fish. That is it for the video, boys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, please let me know. If you use some of these tips, also let me know. Or if you have other tips that I could use in another video, leave a comment down below. Let me know if you want to see more of this stuff. And most importantly, do not forget to subscribe. I love you guys. See you next time.